Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I am going to be showing you how to make dark techno like shadow and obscure shape. As usual, you get the full project file and samples and MIDI presets. Everything from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's get started. So this is a loop from the intro. We're at 136 BPM, a little bit faster. We're going to be talking a little bit more about their more current sort of like ravey, more dark sound. So definitely 136 BPM is really good for that. The first sound we have here is the lead, which sounds like this. So what this lead is doing is it's really just following a D minor scale. That's the key we're in, is D minor. And then you can see, yeah, I've got D, so that's the root note, E, which is the ninth, F, which is the minor third, and then just another E and F, and then an A up here, which is a fifth. So we're literally just walking up the scale. And then what's happening here is we have these sort of like do-do-do-do-do-do, like very kind of sparse little melodic kind of things like this, because the thing about this lead is like if you listen to how much else is going on in this track, you know, if you had a lead that was playing this super complex pattern with a bunch of different automation and movement and stuff, which there is that stuff happening with this lead, but like the lead can't really be the main thing. The lead is kind of, I think of it almost more as like another percussive sort of like rhythmic element. So yeah, that's what we're kind of doing with this. The only other thing I'll talk about is like the shifting of the octaves. That was something that I think sounds really cool and sort of almost like angelic here, where it's just like, you know, it feels really nice when it goes up to that high A, or like when we go here from the, you know, from the high E and F down to the D. It's like, you know, people know like those are the same notes that they heard back here, but because it's in a different octave, it gives it like this sort of shifting and moving feeling while still keeping it really sparse and still only just 4 notes. So yeah, then for the sound with this one is made with analogs. So what this one is it's 2 square waves. You can see they're an octave apart. I've got them detuned quite a bit as well. And then we've got the filter on there, which is a low pass. I've got a bit of resonance. You can see the envelope's up all the way. The envelope's set like this, so it's just like this quick sort of boom. You know, you can hear it just goes whoop, like that. And then I also have a little bit of LFO on there, so that's just kind of making it so there's a little bit of a shift every time that you hear the sound. And it's not just in the exact same place every single time. Then we get the amp envelope set like this, so pretty much the same as the filter envelope. Like if I turn the filter off, you can see the filter just kind of dulls it down a little bit, but it's really mostly happening with the amp envelope here. So we just got that set like that. There's the LFO, you can see it's really slow. And then I just have a bit of vibrato and a bit of unison. And that is it for inside the synth. From there, I've got a bit of chorus spreading the sound out, and then we have some echo and some reverb. These are pretty long and pretty slow too, because you can see like the echoes on quarter notes. So yeah, this sound is meant to be like really ambient because it plays so sparsely. Like you only hear it once every 2 bars, as you can see. You have a lot of room to just let this one kind of ring out, and you get this cool thing too because you're essentially creating like reverb chords, because this is going through here and you're picking up like the reverb from this note and the reverb from this note and the reverb from this note, and when you hear them on their own, yeah, it's a pretty normal thing, but then after that, while it's still ringing out, you're like hearing those play together as a chord, and I think it adds a lot of vibe to the track. You know, it almost sits in the place of like a chord that would be droning just one long chord the whole way through, but this way, you know, we can do it with just one element. And then after the reverb and echo, I've just got a bit of drum bus, a bit of a high pass filter, just kind of fattening the sound up and then cleaning out the lows, and that is it for the lead. And then from there we have the kick, which is 3 layers, and it sounds like this. So what's happening here with this kick is we have the punch. So just like a pretty hard hitting, you know, punchy, sort of very ravey 90s, early 2000s-esque kick. Like you hear in a lot of these guys' tracks. And then we have these two ghost kicks. So we have this one, which you can hear is creating the rumble. And then this one, which is kind of creating like almost a percussion loop on top. But you see, like, it kind of just fits in with the rumble kick. So yeah, so the way we're making the rumble, again, it's just a kick. It's actually a different kick from the main one. It's this one. So this one's a little bit bassier. I thought it was a little bit better for these rumbles. But what I've done here is it's just going through a bandpass filter. So here's without the filter. I pitched it down a bunch. And then it's going through a bandpass so that we're just getting the lows. And then I just have it drum bust a bit, and I've got a sidechain to the kick so that they kind of just sound like one. So pretty simple. And then for this ghost kick, so this one's actually kind of made in the same way, because you can see it's the same kick sample actually. I pitched it down a little bit. It's not quite as low, but then I've also got that going through a bandpass. However, this one is a lot higher, so we're really just getting the mid-range of this sound. And then I have this short little reverb on here. You can see decay time's pretty low, size is pretty low. It just kind of gives it a little bit of atmosphere and space and kind of texture when you hear this with the whole kick. You know, like maybe this will be the intro. So that's what this is adding. It's just giving it a lot of movement, and then that reverb gives it a bit of atmosphere. And then I've got the drum bus on there, and then I have a compressor, which is sidechaining this one to the kick as well, but quite a bit less. This is just a little bit. Because you can see, like, with the way these are all processed together, it pretty much ducks out of the way anyway. But I still wanted to get the clicks in there. And then finally, we just have a high-pass filter. And yeah, and then on the group of all three layers, we just have a bit of drum bus and then a bit of EQs. So here is without those. And then with the drum bus. And then with the EQs. So you can see what these are doing. So the first thing is the drum bus. You know, this is just taking everything and really fattening it up and really gluing it together. This is on the hard mode, so you can see it's hitting like pretty hard and pretty full, because not only is it saturating the sound, but it's actually doing a little bit of limiting, which the limiter on drum bus is pretty dynamic and pretty transparent, so you're not really going to hear, like, you know, we still have like the transient of the kicks in there, but what it's doing is it's kind of helping to like even these out, like kind of, you know, putting the ghost kicks on the same level with the main kick. Because like if we put this on the soft setting, for example, see how like it kind of just sounds like three different layers, but then on the hard setting it all becomes one thing. So yeah, that's the goal there. And then I've got the transients turned up, got the boom turned up. You can see that's on D, since that is the key of the track. And this EQ in here was honestly just to boost the low end. Like when I was putting this up against reference tracks, it felt like it was still just kind of missing that like really deep fat low end. So that's what this is boosting. And you can hear the difference. If I turn it off, it's a little bit muddier. And then when we turn it on, it's a lot more focused in the low end. And then from there, after that, we have the cymbals, which sound like this. So what's going on is we have three. We have this ride. So you can hear us playing this pattern, which is like, you know, it's a lot more energetic than just. It's almost like a percussion, like, not just a cymbal, but like its own percussion thing. And then I have this being high passed a ton because, like, with these rides, especially when we already have a really busy mix like this, a lot of times, if we have it too, like you don't even really notice much of a difference other than that the ride is just taking more space from the other hi-hats. Then we have the open hi-hat. So this is two layers. We have this one, kind of more of the punch, and it really adds that like on the hi-hat. And then this one, which is just a 909 hi-hat, and that adds more of like the body of the sound. Because you can hear the punch of this hi-hat and then the ringing out from that second one. And then there you go. And then I've just got this going into a bit of drum bus there. So here's without that. And with it, that really helps to kind of make these sound like one hi-hat and glue them together. And then finally, we just have this 909 closed hi-hat. Just doing in the background. Yeah, it just adds a lot of energy. Like if I turn this off, and then I'll turn it on. Just having that is adding a lot of energy to the track. And then on the group of all three of those cymbals, I just have a bit of processing. So we've got a bit of reverb and a bit of drum bus and EQ here. So here is without any of these. And I'll show you why we do this. So that's completely dry. You can hear it's not really quite there. But then when we turn these on, it really takes everything, glues it together, makes it sound really full and fat, and then it also, you know, just gives everything kind of a more even volume level as well. Like it kind of makes all the cymbals sound like they're coming from the same place, so to speak. So yeah, the first thing is the reverb. This just gives it a bit of atmosphere. This is more than I would usually use actually on hi-hats. Like when I'm making my own techno tracks and I put reverb on the hi-hats, usually it's like 8%, maybe 9%, maybe 10%. Here it's at 18%, and the decay time's, you know, pretty long, all things considered. But this is just adding a ton of atmosphere to the hi-hats. It really gives it that like ravey sort of feel. Like I've noticed whenever I hear a techno track where they're trying to have that kind of like dark, old school rave feel to it, reverb on the hi-hats just really gives you that like certain atmosphere. And I think a lot of that has to do with back in the day. Like back in the day, a lot of hard techno, that was the thing, like, you know, reverb on the hi-hats and all that. So yeah, I just got that on there to kind of give it some atmosphere. Then we have this drum bus. So you heard without that, and then with it, you know, same deal as with the kicks. Like it's just night and day. Like without this, these are all just like kind of cymbals. But then when you put them all through there, they all sound fat and really full. And really big. And then finally the EQ is just boosting the highs, which we could probably cut the lows on that too. But yeah, there we go. That is the cymbals. And then after that we have this tom, which sounds like this. You can hear it kind of makes a little bit more sense when you play it with the kick. It's just doing like a little sort of groove element. To the mix. So the way I made this is I took this tom sample, which as you can hear is a lot bigger and longer, and then what I've done is I've shortened it here using the amplitude envelope. So all this is just turning the sustain down, turning the decay down a little bit. And then there you go, because you don't want it to be too long. Like this kind of a sound really, you just want like a little bloop, and that's it. And then I also pitched it up. And then that's just going through a very small amount of reverb just to give it a little bit of atmosphere, a bit of drum bus to fatten it up and really make it hit hard. Here's without that. And then with it. And then I have this high pass filter. And then yeah, that's it for the tom. Again, that's just kind of like an extra sort of percussion sort of thing. And then we have the clap. So what this is it's this clap sample. That one. And then what I've done is I've taken it and I've just shortened the sustain and the decay down. Just to make this really quick little like. And that's all this needs to be. Like you just want a quick little on the 2 and 4. Like that, just to kind of give it some groove. Like. It kind of makes you bob your head a little bit more. And it's also like, I think kind of breaking it down on a smaller level too. It's like having a clap in your techno track like this, that's just like that. It's almost like creating a call and response because we have the hi-hat, which normally, let's say in a techno track is just doing this. So there's no call and response there because it's just that one sound. But then when you have the clap, you get, there's call and response between the hi-hat and the clap. So then you have that happening on a very, very small level. And then on top of that, we have a call and response happening up here with the lead. how it's going like between those two different parts. So essentially we're doing call and response on like many different levels inside of this track, and I think that's like another thing to think about, like when you're adding an element like this, like a clap, is like it's not just about, oh, do I want a clap in here, but like what is this creating within the groove? Like how is this all fitting in? Is this creating some kind of call and response? Is this creating some sort of like interesting dynamic? And then yeah, just like really thinking about how each element works toward like the overall picture, rather than just like, oh, I'm gonna have a nice clap sample in my track. And yeah, and then I just had that going through a bit of drum bus, so here's without it. And then with it, so same deal, like it's just night and day. Makes it hit so much harder. I really sit in the right place in the track. And yeah, so that is me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI presets. Everything from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.